sometimes.
Spread it thick, don't let it flop. We're spreading on.
Oh yeah.
We're spreading on. Keep it creamy now. We're spreading on.
Oh yeah.
We're spreading on. Keep it creamy now.
It's peanut butter flock sometimes.
Yeah, can you taste that beat?
Stick to the roof of your jam-lit mind. Don't let it stop, don't let it stop. It's peanut butter flock sometimes.
Spread it thick, don't let it flop. We're spreading on.
Oh yeah.
We're spreading on. Keep it creamy now. We're spreading on.
Oh yeah.
We're spreading on. Keep it creamy now.
Right. Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Phlox'em all. We are here finally with some Prophetic Visions opening. Been kind of a weird week, kind of a weird day too. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. I did not get my package for almost a week after it said it was delivered. Almost thought it wasn't even coming, which is really sad. But it ended up getting here. UPS or USPS just kind of made a mistake in what locker they put it in, and we're here now. So we got it. So a little bit later than some other folks, but that's fine because every deck is new and an adventure and everything. So excited to open some of these up. I'm gonna get on some background music really quick here. Let's see. See if that one is gonna work. Okay. See how that goes. Yeah. Excited to do this. We'll see how much I open first. We're gonna start with the draconic measures, of course. Gotta start with the spoilers here. Honestly been a bit of a mixed bag for me as far as the spoilers I've seen so far. This kind of dragon art, pretty cool. Some of the other dragon art has not wowed me at all. Like the just blue backgrounds on like green fields. Not cool. It's been, I don't know. Don't love it, but we'll see. Obviously, there's a lot more of the set to see so far. Other stuff has looked pretty cool though, but for that house being the new house specifically, the art has been a little bit on the lacking side. So let's see. Your pledge to support Keyforge has made it possible to provide you with these 3 preview cards from a forthcoming set, Draconian Measures. Your 3 preview cards were chosen via computer algorithm, and it's possible that at least one of these cards was produced in a very limited quantity, or even be the only copy yet in existence. We've seen some of the 250. I don't think I've seen any totally unique ones yet, though. But there was one of the copies, I think a Geistoid card that there's only 250 of. Atlantis Ketzer, welcome in. Glad to see you all here. Got Mars in it. That's the important thing, right? All we're really looking for. Because Draconian Measures was still in development at the time these preview cards were printed, these cards were still subject to change prior to their official release. I hope this sneak peek will get you as excited about the future of Keyforge as we are. So with that, maybe some of the art for the dragons is not yet set in stone, but even like this thing, the creature itself is fine. It's a little bit on the simpler side, like the skin, it's just very sort of like smooth, has a little bit of like Charmander look to it, which like I got nothing against Charmander. It's just not exactly what I'm expecting from Keyforge art. But we'll see. We'll see what else they get. I know art is just one of many things that are kind of, there's a lot of work to put into these sets to get them here, so try and do this without excessive crinkling into the mic. For those of you here, how's the background music? Too loud, too quiet? How are we sounding? I also spent way too long trying to get my camera working today. It was not having it. Yeah, that's okay, Ketzer. We'll have it up on YouTube, but just good to see you. I feel like I haven't had you in the chat for a while, so good to have you here. All right, we've got a Shadows creature, Pincher Malloy. Play if your opponent has more amber than you, steal 2. So there's been some talk about, well, power creep. And if you remember a card from Mass Mutation called Bonithing, this is just literally that card without any conditions. It just steals 2 amber. Same with, you know, things like Ronnie Wristclocks. No condition, steal 2 amber. Still has the 2 power, nothing else with that. So just getting better on that curve. Phantasm Cloak. So I think this is one of the 250 ones, which is pretty cool. We'll take a look at the back after this. But this creature gains after Reap. If you're haunted, gain 2. So like this is a very simple upgrade, but it's very impactful, right? Especially like Geistoid cards, I feel like have a good chance of kind of sitting on the board for a while. And yeah, this one just makes them that much scarier, getting that extra 2 amber after Reaping. But again, we had, what is it? There was an upgrade, an Untamed upgrade. That was after Reap, gain 1. Like a Pixie something or other. But yeah. Yep, only 250 of this preview card exists, so that's cool. We've also got some more Mars art on the back of that one, which is awesome. We've got Hot Bunk, exhaust creature. If you do, ready creature. This is a pretty cool one. It's kind of creature control mixed with some extra ready and use. It does not ready and use though. It is just ready a creature, so like this isn't going to be house cheating, but it is pretty fine for getting really some decent value out of a turn, some creature control on their side, getting to use one of your creatures on your side if you have an Equidon creature out. Not bad. So honestly, these are 3 cool cards. Again, Pincher Malloy just seems excessive for what we were used to, but in the new era of Keyforge, this is just kind of a fine card. I guess it does have one condition that your opponent has to have more amber than you, but I don't know. Seems pretty good, I would say. All right, let's get into our prophetic visions. So I've opened just a couple of these. Again, I didn't have my pledge, so I had to open some decks from some other folks locally, which was awesome that they let me have a couple of those. Opened a couple interesting ones. One is really, really cool with like the Sanctum, has tons of capture, and then it's got just really interesting Untamed to kind of be able to recycle stuff. So that's one I want to play more. But we've got the Phlox'em deck here. Phlox'em who sabotages the weird. Uh, Interesting name there. So I know I chose Logos and Dis. I was trying to remember once I opened the box, I was trying to remember if I'd actually chosen Redemption or not. I'll be honest. Other people have opened some really cool Redemption. I have opened some awful Redemption so far. Cards like the Mist or like the what's the guy's name that turns his neighbors into mutants. Like I just haven't seen enough mutant creature payoff for those cards to seem like they should be in there, especially at common. So like the house to me feels very, very hit or miss on whether or not you get those payoff cards. And if you don't, it can be really, really bad. I thought I had picked Shadows because I got this playmat here, which is my one of my favorite mass mutation decks. I got it custom for that deck, Bacho the Repeatedly Ephemeral, which is a this logo Shadows. And for some reason, I was thinking I had wanted this name deck to copy those houses just so this mat would kind of work with that a little bit more. Quick note on the mat. I love this thing. It has the stitched edges. I didn't know they were doing that this round, but like the Archon art looks super clean, a lot cleaner than my last Archon art. I think there was some weird overlaying with that. This one is very, very sharp, very cool. So happy with that mat. But we'll see what we've got in Phlox'em. This is, I have another one that is like Orion Phloxer of all, but this is the first one that is just named exactly after the channel, which is pretty fun. Logos and Dis, though, I have not opened any Dis yet, so I'm very excited to open that. Logos, I've gotten a couple. It seems like a pretty solid house, but very AoE-ish, where it kind of does efficiency and might not do hardly anything else. Not so much. There's a little bit of creature control in there, but especially Amber control, AoE is very, very lacking. So we're gonna put the Archon card off to the side here. I don't know how people have been opening these yet. If you want to do the prophecies first or save them till the end, I kind of like opening them first so that we kind of know as we're going through cards what fate effects make sense with them. So let's go ahead and just reveal our prophecies here. We've got treat each action as your last. I've seen this one. I haven't opened it yet. During your opponent's turn, after your opponent plays their second action that turn, fulfill treat each action as your last. Current day of Keyforge, this is a pretty solid card. It's going to go off most of the time, especially if you're facing some of those Geistoid loops or whatever. People like to play actions. There's a lot of action heavy decks running around, so this should be fairly easy to get off. Other one is look how far you've come. During your opponent's turn after they play a creature, fulfill look how far you've come. So this one, these two being kind of side to side. Captain Gale, welcome in. We finally got a pledge. I was saying how USPS had misplaced it, but we're here now. Sadly, don't get to do any games today, but we'll see if we can get people on maybe next week to do some IRL prophetic visions. But this for a double-sided vision card, we've got playing actions, playing creatures. So in almost every matchup, like this one is just super solid, right? Even if you have an action heavy deck, you're playing creatures most of the time, especially since there's so much capture and stuff now that is important for really a lot of the sets. Very, very easy one to get off, and then treat each action as your last, also pretty solid. So liking that so far. I have a history of having fun name decks, but not good. I would love if I finally opened a good named deck. Expect the unexpected during your opponent's turn after your opponent shuffles their deck. This is a really interesting one because it's very matchup dependent. So the first deck that I opened has this Untamed where you're shuffling your own deck all the time. So if you're going against like Prophetic Vision Untamed, this thing is going to go crazy. It's going to go off all the time. But if you're playing against a pretty standard deck, this is never happening. Treat each action. Yeah, so it can be played around, but it's kind of like, I think it depends on what set you're playing against. Like in Sealed, yes, this is probably getting played around a lot. And it's not going to be as good. If you're playing Archon, people are doing, Junk Restoration in here somewhere. Like, this is firing after those cards. Like there's so many things in competitive play that we're used to seeing that they're playing multiple action cards. And then especially this set has wards too. And if you're getting those wards down, people have to be playing multiple action cards just to clear your board. So I think we'll see it a lot more once you get into trying to play this set competitively and it's playing cross set. Maybe into this set, it's not as good, but you know, we'll see. Last one we got Heads I Win, which is kind of an interesting one, especially when you already have this one. But this is at the end of your turn, you may flip Heads I Win. So this is kind of nice to actually have this flip effect because, again, this one is very rare unless you get in very specific matchups. But if you know your opponent is going to flip the deck's next turn, like they've gotten to the end of their deck, you can just flip Heads I Win to this side to know you're going to get it off. And then this one is just during your opponent's turn, after your opponent plays a creature adjacent to a creature of the same house, fulfill Heads I Win. So like when you have this is pretty redundant. This is just better always, right? If you want your prophecies going off a lot, that one's just better. But this has some utility, and then again, having that ability to flip it to another side to ensure it procs on a certain turn is kind of nice. So these are fine. I don't know that they're like the best prophecies. There's a couple others that might be a little bit easier to proc, but I think these are good enough for most of what you're gonna see. All right, we're gonna split this up into the 12 houses and shuffle them up and do it just like, you know, the old days of deck reveals. I haven't done this in a while. I mean, I guess probably since Amber Skies. I feel like the biggest one of these was for Winds of Exchange. Maybe I did a bigger one for GR. But Winds of Exchange, I feel like I opened a lot of decks, which is pretty fun. I miss doing this, but would love it if it had just been a little bit earlier. Things like this are always a mixed bag when the set is basically completely spoiled at this point. Like it's fun to see what people's decks are, but unless you've been like really really keeping yourself in the dark, you're not seeing anything new at this point. All right, we've got 4 Seer. Play after Reap. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put one into your hand. This is a mechanic I really like in this set, by the way. Both Star Alliance and Logo seem to do a lot of just looking at the top of your deck, and I think that's very fun. It's kind of one of the things that I guess Discovery I was hoping would be a lot of random, like play the top card of your deck or archive the top of your deck, but this guy is just great efficiency. It's a draw, but you get to see what you're drawing first, like totally fine. Very good, just 2 power. Like this is, again, like feels like AOA Logos where all of the creatures basically feel like witches, but the house does like no amber control. Next, we've got Digitalia. So this is, oh gosh, no, I'm gonna forget. Is this Don Fam's art? This is one of the custom artworks. I'm really sorry for whoever. Also a good one, only 2 power, and it's just after Reap, so we don't get the play effect. Ooh. Yeah, you're right, Captain Gale. It is very unclear what you're supposed to do with that other deck card. Let me tell you, there's been some discussions about the templating of this set, and I can't say that it is wowed me so far. I think there's a lot of things that kind of slipped through, which is just sad. I don't love that, but I'm going to bring these up a little bit higher so they're easier to read. But after Reap, draw a card for each of Digitalia's Logos neighbors. Got that Logos enhance on there. Also, fine card. Again, not quite as good as like Sutterkin, but, you know, can still do plenty of card your opponent wants to get rid of if you're able to call Logos multiple turns. Hazard Zerp. So this is some of our creature control. Play, deal 3 to a creature. If that creature is destroyed, draw a card. So again, another 2 power creature. Also got the scrap on there. This is the other thing with the set. I love scrap effects, but having them in the same set as fate effects, like I put this under a fate card probably more than once already, because, or under a prophecy, because it reads like a fate effect. Yeah, it's still good, like the discard on the scrap, but there's not really any discard pips in this set, which makes it a little bit harder to get off. There are some cards that tell you to discard a card from your hand, but I mean, either way, still a fine card. You're drawing a card, you're doing some creature control, like 2 power. Again, like I think Logos in this set feels like what I want Logos to be in terms of balance. Oh, ZYX Researcher with the disc pip. All right, so like the ZYX suite coming back is already one of my favorite things. Oh yeah, you're right. It's got the, that's a really interesting way that that's worded too, right? The scrap effect is to discard another card, so you can kind of chain some scrap effects or whatever, or just get you a lot more efficiency. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Captain Gale. That's very interesting. Also covers it up in the discard, which just makes it kind of confusing, but it's also interesting with this guy because you could discard a different card with Zerp and then archive it with ZYX because that card will be on top of Zerp because he will technically be in the discard first because of how scrap works. But this guy having a dis pip on there is just fantastic. You can play some of those really powerful dis actions and then archive it right away. So totally fine seeing that. We are on the 2 power train here with our Logos creatures. Forgive or forget, finally we're seeing some DT power coming back. This is one of those cards from DT that I really didn't get to play with very much. Just a solid card. Archive 2 cards of different types from your discard pile, and then or purge 2 cards from a discard pile. Again, things like in here somewhere made this card feel not quite as good, but that purging utility is fine. It's one of those threats that you have to be careful of, and you can use it kind of offensively that way. Code Monkey, especially with really Zerp, Hazard Zerp and ZYX Researcher, this is just great utility. Oh, and with Foreseer too. Great card to come back. So this one's also in VM25, and it's so good in that set. It's like terrifying in that set, but always love to see it. Digitalia with the Redemption enhancement. All right, we are seeing just so much Logos utility here. This having the enhancement on there is a little bit interesting because it wants to have Logos neighbors. But I'm fine with it. You know, any kind of efficiency you're getting from that is good. You're being able to put Logos threats down on non-Logos turns, which means they have to deal with it before you go into probably an even more efficient Logos turn next turn. Candle Unit. Candle Unit, always been a favorite of mine. Art, effect, everything. Love this card. Again, one of those cool Worlds Collide callbacks. Glad to have that back. And a little bit more power on the board because we haven't seen too much of that yet. So many house pips, right? So for this set, it seems like the house pips are a little bit scarcer, but we've already have 2 Logos enhances that we're going to see in the rest of the deck too at this point. So very glad to see all this. And another Dis House Pip. All right. Wormhole Technician with the Dis House Pip. Again, another Worlds Collide throwback. Love this card. And with Foreseer, you can basically know that you're going to either play or archive that card off the top of the deck if you're going to get to reap with this guy. Lots of creatures in this house. I think that's okay. Again, there's no Amber control here. There's just a little bit of creature control. Lots of efficiency. Parallel Thinking. This is fine. This is a tough one to... It's not as tough as like Technorachnophobia was. I think this one goes off probably a little bit more often. Still a little bit tough. Very, very cool card though. Again, one of those custom art cards for the Villains of Tyranny team. Very cool stuff there. It's fine. Again, if you have like Starlines, especially with some cards, this is very, very good. Or yeah, I always forget it can get stuff from archives. So if you know your opponent has archive stuff, that's a good call, Atlantis. I need to remember that because I'm always thinking about the top of deck like probabilities, but you stole 10 with 2 copies of holy cow. All right, I will rethink my evaluation of that card. Reiteration, draw 2, put 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck, or Fate, discard 2 random cards from your hand. This is our first Fate effect in Logos, which is very interesting. Again, this is a very creature heavy house, so we probably want to be calling Logos a lot instead of putting those under the prophecies, but having a little bit in here is good. Discarding 2 random cards from your opponent's hand is also solid. Play effect is also pretty solid. This can get a little bit awkward if you kind of, depending on if you've already been doing a good job of handcrafting, this can actually be kind of bad to use if you draw cards you want to play or use that turn. But it's still a very, very solid card. I like that one a lot. But more efficiency here, and our first Amber Pip. And then a second Parallel Thinking with the enhancement. So we already know this deck has at least 6 house enhancements, which is pretty high for this set from what I've seen. Paperzite. Sorry. Best set ever? I don't know about that. I will tell you. So I actually opened my pledge yesterday. I've only opened 1 deck from it so far, and it is probably one of the worst decks I've opened since AOA. Like, it's just so bad. There's maybe like 3 points of Amber control total. It's a bunch of creatures that don't do anything, so not great. But some of the stuff I opened on Monday was very fun. I think there's some really interesting stuff, especially with like loops and stuff. So with Punctuated Equilibrium being back in Untamed too, there's some really fun stuff you can do with Untamed. So I'm very excited about this set. I think it's going to have lower lows than we've seen from most Ghost Galaxy sets, which makes the seal a little bit interesting. But I'm very excited for this so far. Again, we've got 2 Redemption House Pips so far, 2 Dis House Pips, and then just tons of efficiency with some Amber Control here from the Logos. So, and a little bit of creature control. Again, only 1 Fate effect though, so that'll be interesting. And 1 Pip so far, so it could be a little bit slower. Need that setup, but we'll just see how it goes. I'm already liking this though. Like that Logos house is, it reminds me of one of my favorite AOA decks, which is like a deck with actually 0 Amber Control, but it's just super, super fun, like double Hysteria kind of nonsense, lots of Logos stuff that you have to kill. So if this deck ends up looking kind of like that, that'd be totally fine with me. Sorry about the camera, it is not liking me shuffling. Maybe I'll shuffle over here, but then you have to take my word for it that I'm actually shuffling it. Yeah, this feels like a lot of house enhancements, and I don't remember what the Dis Recruiter is. The Redemption one is the Redemption one the guy that makes cards into mutants? I don't remember that either, but we will see. All right, we're going into Redemption, so it's not, but it is the Fallen Sovereign. So this is again one of those guys where if you have good payoff for it, like the Vault Blessing or whatever, then sure. Except this, yeah. I don't know. If you get this guy with no payoff, he just feels like a vanilla 4-power creature, which is sad. I have not played nearly or opened nearly enough PV yet. So this is, again, I got my pledge yesterday, and I played like 3 or 4 games of it on Monday, and that's literally all I've gotten. I haven't even spoiled the whole set for myself yet, so I've got a long ways to go before I really know what I think about it. Development wise, I'm really sad about the templating. The wording and stuff is just really bad on some of these cards, and just feels like it could have gone through just a full round of wording, templating kind of stuff. I think there's some really fun stuff. I like this mechanic. Again, the templating on it is weird. The like you're triggering it, but your opponent is doing the fate effect. Is just like there's a lot of weird stuff with this set. I still think it could be fun. I'm very interested to see how they do the alliancing for like Sealed Alliance and stuff. That'll be another big piece of it. Yeah, there's the guy that can reap to destroy a mutant, but it's so much work for like having to have this guy on your opponent's board, that guy on your board, and have a turn to be able to reap with it to destroy one creature. Like it feels like so much work for what other things can do much more easily. Vial of Mutation. Again, one of those cards, this one at least has an Amber Pip on it, but put a mutation counter on 2 creatures. While those creatures have a mutation counter, they gain the mutant trait. If you don't have anything that cares about mutants more than like that guy, these cards are just dead. And this is what I just don't like about this house at all. Dark Influence. This is one of those cards that seems like it should work with even the Mist, but because of the way the rules are worded, it doesn't. So even if you have the Mist procced on your turn where all creatures are counted as mutant, this doesn't work because that only affects creatures that are in play, and this is looking at a card on the top of the deck. So yeah, there's a couple cards that are really good with the make things mutants, but I don't think there's enough at common for so many of these things to be common, is my first impression of this house. I haven't seen enough of it, and I've seen some people that have houses that they love of this, but I don't know. Anyways, that one is discard the top card of a player's deck. If it's a mutant creature, gain 1. Corrosive Monk. Each creature is considered to have 0 armor. Each creature cannot gain armor. Kind of a weird one. The fate effect, destroy a friendly creature for each enemy mutant creature. So this is at least a fate effect. We're having like some of these things down can actually do stuff. So that's fine. You know, with this kind of stuff, we should be able to time it pretty well. But it's just, again, a lot of work for not a ton of payoff. Yeah, that is your avatar. That's an interesting... The art for this house has been interesting. Some of it like is cool. Doesn't look as Keyforge to me, but it is interesting stuff. Ruthless Avenger. Assault 2, hazardous 2. Fate. Purge 2 random cards from a discard pile. Shuffle your discard pile into your deck. Very, very interesting fate effect early in the game. If your opponent is kind of doing some of that stuff, like trying to get haunted and then their stuff is in there and then they got to take a turn in the other house to archive it, getting this kind of snuck in there before they're able to do that archiving or whatever can be really, really nasty. Also, fine body, fine effects with Assault and Hazardous too. Yeah, that is unfortunate. Brass Climb, 4-1. While on a flank, Brass Climb gets Skirmish. While not on a flank, you gain Taunt. Taunt is fine. I don't mind having some creature protection, especially for all of our squishy Logos dudes. Fate, for the remainder of the turn, friendly creatures cannot fight. Again, very situationally useful, but for protecting some of those Logos creatures, this is one of those cards that if you're trying to go Logos multiple turns in a row, you're putting this under your Fate effects for that efficiency and for trying to keep your creatures protected. All right, so here's our Recruiter, Salve. Enhance 1 for the Redemption House. Salve gets +2 Assault for each of its Redemption neighbors. So again, Redemption is also doing something weird where this is looking for Redemption neighbors, but the rest of the house is looking for mutants. It's whatever. Another Brass Climb there. So again, decent amount of creatures here. Not too many actions that have been impactful. And again, we have no Amber control so far in this deck. So this is going to be another Vile Mutation. Yeah, this is sad to me. I'm not loving this house a whole lot, especially compared to Sanctum that does so much Amber control in this set. This doesn't feel like it quite hit the mark we were hoping for. Knockback. Put a creature on top of its owner's deck. We had something where it was like top of deck, right? Fate. Discard cards from top of your deck until you discard a creature or run out of cards. Sure. I don't know what that's supposed to accomplish, except for milling like your opponent till they find some of their action cards. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of strange. We know we have a second one, right? Because we had 2 of the enhancements. Genetic Strain. Each mutant captures 1. Okay, so there's a little bit more where we can turn some of my Logos creatures mutant and then use this for some Amber control. And then if there are enemy mutant creatures, your opponent gains 2, so a little bit of Amber generation there as well. It's a couple single captures, which is fine. Like, it can stall a turn if you're getting good efficiency elsewhere, but I don't think this is what we want to see from the Redemption House, unfortunately. Lots of 4-power creatures, which was also one of the really interesting things. So playing on Monday, I had the Untamed creature that has a Fate effect where it deals 4 damage to everything with 5 power or more. And my opponent just everything was 4 power. And it just like felt like that Untamed creature does not belong in this set. Like, I'm fine with a card that does that, but in this set, it feels like it hits Saurian. And that's about it. Maybe some Sanctum dudes. It's not hitting hardly any Redemption dudes. It's definitely not hitting Logos dudes. It's not hitting Shadows dudes. I don't know. There's a few interesting choices in this set. I think this is still like, it's not amazing. It's fine. Again, we can use this for some conditional Amber control. We have plenty of Fate effects in here that can do some stuff while we're doing our Logos turns, but this house might have to carry a bit. But let's see. We didn't have any of the house pips in that Redemption, did we? So that means we've got 2 Logos house pips in this dis. And no Redemption house pips, because we saw both of those in the Logos. But the Logos having 4 house pips already feels pretty dang good. Yeah, I know the recruiters work that way, and that like makes sense. It's just, again, one of those things with Redemption just doesn't feel like they have mutant payoff. Enough mutant payoff at common is what I would say. Because even this, I guess that's a common. But like the other deck I opened literally has 3 of the Mist and then 2 of, what's that guy's name? This guy, the Fallen Sovereign, has 3 Mist, 2 Fallen Sovereign. Literally the only card that cares about mutants is that creature with the Reap effect. I would love to know where they are, Dave, because I am not finding them. That's 2 decks in a row now that feel very sad with the Redemption House. All right, let's see what this disc looks like. Bloodshard Imp. All right, that's fine. Again, that's kind of one of those cards that doesn't really do much until it is ready for like a big Mars turn or whatever. This is the first deck I've opened today. I opened one yesterday just after I got my pledge, and like I was saying, the Redemption House, 3 the Mist, 2 of the Fallen Sovereigns, and 1 card that even references mutants, and it's like a fight reap effect on 1 creature, and it's just like those mists are just trash. The rest of the deck was not super impressive either, though, so it's not like it was really bringing something down hard. All right, so we got our first Logos pip here. Remy's Horror. Destroy a creature and an artifact. Purge a random card from your opponent's hand. Holy cow. Did we have any recursion in Logos? Oh, we do. We've got this UIX Researcher. Yeah, that's going to get recurred as much as possible. So play that. ZYX Researcher it, and then Code Monkey the ZYX Researcher, do it again. Okay. Already loving this. Poise Strike. After a player readies this creature, destroy it. And then Fate. Skip your ready cards step this turn. I got hit by this one a couple times. If you've got a creature heavy deck and your opponent also has this, like this is just a great combo because you know it's going to have some effect there. So pretty solid. Just again, fate effects that we can use while we're doing our Logos turns are one of the big things we're looking for here. Scorpion. So here's one of our enhances, our recruiters. After reap, deal 2 damage to an enemy creature for each of Scorpion's neighbors. That's totally fine. Infinity Strop. There's our other Logos enhancement. Love to see that. So a little bit more creature control while we're doing our Logos turns. Again, we saw this in Amber Skies. Great card. They Tell No Tales, another Amber Skies one. So lots more creature control, which is good to see here. Definitely glad to see that, especially to help keep our Logos alive. Gift of Amber. I don't know if I knew this was back in this set. Yeah, more burst, always good to see. Try Hard. This one doesn't have the Logos pip. If this had the Logos pip, we'd be cooking. Because then I guess it's hard to ZYX this because you might have to discard it. But totally fine with what we're seeing from Dis here. Lots of disruption going on. Great stuff. Grave Bounty. Got Snudge art back. So cool to see. Play Purge a card from your discard pile. If you do, your opponent loses 2 Amber. All right, we found some Amber control. So we've got 2 Parallel Thinkings and Grave Bounty, and then our Genetic Strain. Banish. This is fine. There's a lot of capture in this set, so I think this is going to be much better for like Sealed or whatever, just to kind of bounce some of those creatures that have captured a lot, but don't mind seeing it. More pips is always good too. Eye for an Eye. If you didn't know that's how you pronounce that. That's how you pronounce it. Play, discard your hand. After reap, your opponent discards 2 random cards from their hand. So this is again one of those like, well, I mean, this is good if you've got some of those scrap effects in Logos, but just good hand cycling. Probably going to be playing this to discard a bunch of redemption cards because they're all garbage. But after reap, your opponent discards 2 random cards from their hand. So this is a must kill kind of creature too. So very happy to see that. And then there's our second Scorpion. So all right, I would say like for a name deck, this is some fun stuff. The Dis and the Logos are fantastic, and we'll just see if we can play creatively to not have to play redemption ever. Is basically where we're at with that. So you're discarding them with the Try Hard. You're, playing this guy to discard your hand of it, and then you'll have one turn where you do the Potion and Genetic Strain to capture some Amber. But I don't know. Definitely looks like a fun card. I think the house pips especially make this fun. Decent prophecies as well. So yeah, excited to play that one. The Logos doing some stuff. I love it. And the Dis. Can't wait to see what they do with what is it? Alliance with this set. It's gonna be very interesting how they do the prophecies. My guess is it'll be kind of like it was with tokens, where you just have to take all the prophecies from one of your decks. But who knows? So that is Phlox'em all, who sabotages the weird. So none of those enhancements landing in redemption. So that is just a house you want to discard as much as possible. Sorry, lighting in here kind of got bad, so this might not work to do too much longer. We've got a storm coming in. And I've ordered some better lighting for my desk. All right, let's do a Foresight deck. I opened one of these on Monday. Yeah, I am going to prophesy a lot of it. And I think some of the prophecies are actually fine if you're doing, like, to help you kind of stay afloat. Ah, it's back again. More redemption. Licio, the artist of Otstun. Man, this storm is gonna make it really hard. I need more lighting for this room. Getting bad fast. All right, let's see our first prophecies. I do like the foresight treatment. I think it's a little bit better than some of the other ones they've done, just as far as it not being too offensive. So we've got the early bird. At the end of your opponent's turn, if they have more amber in their pool than you, fulfill the early bird. Yeah, that one's a pretty easy one to fulfill, right? Especially if your opponent's doing a lot of burst. Stars aligned at the start of your opponent's turn. If each player has the same number of creatures, fulfill stars aligned. So this is really nice because you can basically force it on your turn unless you have really weird draws or your opponent has just gone crazy with the board. Tail as you lose, so the opposite side of the one we just saw. During your opponent's turn, after your opponent plays a creature adjacent to a creature belonging to a different house, fulfill tail as you lose. Look how far you've come. So this is the second time this has happened to me where there's just no reason you would play tail as you lose because look how far you come is just always better. Just if you want that prophecy to fulfill, this is always going to be better because it is just a conditionless version of this. And that's the second time I've gotten. I think the other one was heads you win on the other side of look how far you've come. But yeah, just unfortunate. Let's see. I really want to find some more lighting because I want to keep going with this. But it's getting dark in here really, really fast because this storm is coming in. So I'm going to mute really quick and see if I can find a better lamp. I don't know if that is at all. We'll see. Might be the wrong angle. So we might just have to cut this short, sadly. Yeah, I have a light. It's literally coming later today. Like a nice LED desk light. It's just, since we moved, there's been a lot of things I haven't gotten to. Yeah, so you're right, Captain Gale. There are reasons why you might not want this, why you might want to keep it on this one until you're ready for it to proc. So having some control can be nice. But like, especially if you have like my last deck, there's not many fate effects outside of redemption. So if you're just trying to mill cards and you want them gone, you're doing that one. Saurian has been an interesting house to me so far too. There's some really cool cards, but I actually have seen a lot less payoff for capture in my deck so far too. Which I feel like I've been saying that a lot lately, that maybe this set just doesn't quite do payoff the way that I would hope for some of these things. Maybe I've just been unlucky. I did say come watch me open trash decks, so maybe I'm just unlucky. Let's see what house we got first here. It's gray. It's got to be good, right? Gray Archon. Lots of payoff, a little bit of less setup. Interesting. Maybe that's what I mean. That might be what I'm saying, is there's a lot of payoff cards with not enough ways to like, so just things that do stuff with captured amber, but there's like no capturing amber in the house. Sorry, you're right. That's more what I was thinking for that one. I said it wrong. All right, we're doing our Saurian house first here. We've got Governor Gredelk. After fight, put the topmost creature from your opponent's discard pile into play under your control. Kind of interesting because it can be the creature he fights. Like if it just gets killed, it's in the topmost of the discard pile. So it's kind of like is that Grecking or whatever? But it is put into play, so you don't get the play effects, which is sad. Or if there's something else there, you can fight into like an elusive or whatever and grab that other creature. I don't know that there's a ton of really strong persistent effects in this set, so I don't know if that always is doing like a ton to be able to pick up those creatures, but it's an interesting card. I haven't really got to play with it too much yet. Sedimentary Nap, play, shuffle a creature into its owner's deck, or Fate, shuffle the most powerful friendly creature into its owner's deck. Pretty solid bounce. Putting it back into, or shuffling it back into the deck is pretty good compared to the cards that just bounce it back to archives or hand. Degenerate Decor. So this is one of the good setup cards. Exalt the most powerful creature 3 times, or the most powerful friendly creature captures 3. So you can kind of do it either way if you need the Amber control, or if you want to just, you know, fight something with Gridalk or Sedimentary Nap it and gain 3 Amber off of it. Very, very good uncommon. But again, that's one of those cards where, like, if you make those both 2 Amber and you put it at common, maybe this house gets a little bit more of the setup cards that we need. Imperial Scutum. So again, great with Degenerate Decor if you happen to do the capture piece of it. Good card to see come back from Worlds Collide. Spendthrift. Move each Amber from a creature to the common supply. Exalt that creature. So just a good way to kind of, you know, remove Amber from your own creatures if you are going to do some of that capture. Again, we're all basically banking on Degenerate Decor at this point for some of this. I believe this will exalt a creature even if you move 0 Amber from it. So also you could kind of just get some of your, like, just exalt your opponent's creature. And then Fate is move each Amber from an enemy creatures to your opponent's pool. So if you have like that Sanctum thing where you're just capturing a bunch on your stuff and then you get to Fate this, it can be really good, especially with some of these Fates that are not too hard to proc. Lorica Infantry. After fight, you may exalt Lorica Infantry. If you do, your opponent loses 2 Amber. So Amber control on a fight effect, totally fine. 4 armor there, makes him really, really sticky. Not bad. One of my favorite cards from Amber Skies is Simwix the Bold. So like this is not quite there, but it's still really good. Yeah, often gain 1 unless you exalt it, or for the exalt if you play it. Got a second Lorica Infantry. Totally fine seeing that. Again, sticky board is good for some of these capture effects and things. Library of Polosaurus. This guy's also exalting himself, so some of these things are going to help with kind of removing some of that Amber, which is great. If it's more like piecemeal like this, I'm fine with that. Instead of it being these really, really big, if you're just kind of like exalting or capturing a lot and then just able to move that Amber, this is good. Imperial Forge. So this is one of those ones I just haven't seen enough of the set yet to know how good this can be. So far, there's some stuff to set it up, but not like a ton, right? We don't have especially something like a Shrix or Brachus or whatever where you're actually going to use that Amber. Could see a Calpigian Ideal, I think, is what's actually in this set. Okay, another Spendthrift, so moving that Amber or just exalting your opponent's creature. Ulo, choose an enemy creature, destroy each creature with power less than the chosen creature. So they did nerf this one a little bit. Dataforge stream, welcome in. PV hype. Yeah, I have been critiquing the set a little bit so far, just with what we've opened and stuff, but I am very excited about the set still. There are some really cool things in the set, and I think it is a fun play style that the set has. There are things that maybe could have been done better. Yeah, I mean, it's still fine, right? If they put one big taunter out, you're just going to pick that creature and then it's going to kill everything besides that taunter. So for things like a Titan Guardian or whatever, this is a great card. But it's not quite as good as the original one they gave us. Then the Fate effect, destroy each friendly creature with the lowest power. That's fine. And then we got a second one. All right, so, I mean, this Saurian is pretty, like, just all around decent. Kind of low on creatures. Only 3 creatures here, so it's not going to be kind of building that really big board. You could get a few extra things from this guy, but, you know, in general, plenty of pips. It's doing some Amber control. It's doing some creature control. Has technically a key cheat if you get, like, really lucky, but, yeah, feeling pretty good about that so far. Yeah, definitely a set that can use some good creature control. And so having 2 of those is very, very welcome, especially with having a Fate effect that is also creature control. You think, like, especially with things like Atrocity, being able to put this as a fate turn 1 under like this. So if your opponent like on their turn 1 just plays atrocity first card, this is just going to take it out. So I think there's gonna be a lot of really interesting things you have to think about for sealed, especially like those turn 1 plays, because there's going to be so many prophecies that can fulfill turn 1. I think you're really going to want some of those fate effects that are like creature control or kind of the disruption cards or whatever. All right, could be redemption again. Let's see if we can do better than Phlox'em all. We got Logos. All right, Emeritus Darn. Did not see this one in my last deck, but Elusive. After Reap, archive the top 2 cards of your deck. Totally fine. Very, very good card. Again, those 2 power kind of witches that we're seeing in Logos. Some of my favorite kind of like Keyforge play is just playing small but impactful creatures and hoping they survive. Unstable Dale. After Reap, deal 1 to each creature for each card in your hand, or Fate, deal 3 to each friendly creature. I haven't gotten to use this guy enough, but I'm thinking his Fate effect is going to be more like better most of the time than doing his After Reap effect. His After Reap effect, again, all of your other Logos creatures are so small. This guy's going to be really tough. Oh yeah, with the parallel thinking, that could be a really interesting one too. Give yourself a free steal 2 if you get lucky. Wormhole Technician. Again, don't mind seeing that at all. Second Wormhole Technician. Might be too many. Skippy Time Hog. He's back. And he's got the Redemption House Pip on there. So totally fine seeing that. He's already a mutant too, which is actually kind of hilarious. I kind of thought they had actually put him in Redemption. Am I wrong about that? Maybe they didn't. But anyways, that is the most fitting house pip I've seen in a while, especially on a rare. But very glad to see Skippy Time Hog coming back. There's a lot of impactful creatures in this set, so I think he's going to do great stuff. There's our Forgive or Forget. To be able to recycle Skippy is very, very good. Second Emeritus Dan. Lots of archiving there. Some random archiving, I guess. Captain Cha. Elusive and After Reap, steal 1. Lots of elusive here so far, so if they're relying on fighting, this could be actually pretty decent. It's a fine effect, right? We've seen stuff like that before. Second Unstable Dale, so we're doing almost all creatures this house, again. Very similar to my last Logos house. But again, that's more creature control, which is very good. Again, his Fate effect, I think, is going to be way better if you're trying to keep all of your own little Logos creatures alive. Got our ZYX Researcher. Good with Forgive or Forget, I guess. Hazard Zerp, more creature control and more draw. That's fine. And then we've got Reiteration. So, holy cow. Another house of tons of creatures. Seen stuff like what before? Sorry. Oh, the After Reap steal one? I guess we've seen like Action steal one on a lot of things, right? But maybe not the After Reap steal one. So yeah, I mean, it's fine, especially in a house that doesn't have as much Amber control. It does give you a little bit there. This house is doing more efficiency and creature control, which I think is fine. Senator Shrix, or not Senator, but Citizen Shrix, but it also had to exalt itself to do that. There's a Star Alliance creature, right? That is that also Action, or is that After Reap? Maybe it is mostly actions that we've seen so far. Shrix is... No, it's... Well, yeah, if you think about it. That's not the wording. The wording is steal one. But yeah, it basically is capture one. SA creatures in action. Is there more than one SA creature, though? I'm trying to remember. So we also have things like... Oh, what's Nemo Leech is Reap, steal 1 or steal 2 on a 2-power creature, which is just shockingly good compared to Skullback Crab, right? Just took him and cranked him up to 1,000. It's still fine, especially 3-power elusive body. Not sad to see that at all. All right, let's see what this redemption has. Knockback. Put a creature on top of its owner's deck or fate. Discard cards from top of the deck until you hit a creature card or run out of cards. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have dismissed it. I mean, above average creature. doesn't have a play effect. I think most creatures with play effects, or a decent amount of creatures with play effects, are still above that. Just because stuff's surviving, especially at 3 power when there's so many things that deal 3 power even in the set, like as fate effects. It's a tough sell. It's fine. It's still a decent, like pretty good creature. And better than Drekker, I would say. Yeah. So we've got Salve, so that's where at least one of our redemption pips came from. Got the Assault there for redemption neighbors. All right, we've got the Mist. Let's see how many we can find. Omni, destroy the Mist for the remainder of the turn. Each creature gains the mutant trait. All right, so there's a Vault's Blessing. That's fine. Each player gains 1 amber for each mutant creature they control. So this is actually trickier because you're actually giving your opponent mutant creatures if you haven't cleared their board first. But I will say we have payoff for being mutants now, which is good. Violent Mutation, again, being able to generate more mutants is pretty solid. And the Logos having lots of creatures means we should have plenty to put on there. Stampede moving into this house is a little bit interesting, but there are a lot of creatures that I think want to fight, and this house can be a little bit stickier than Logos at least. I don't know if there's much ready and use in this house. We'll have to see. But we do have the Skippy, which is going to be House Pip, which is good. Again, here's the guy that you're going to see the most often being Mutant Payoff. He can just destroy a mutant creature after fight or after reap. This is one of those ones where the art is just doesn't necessarily feel Keyforge-y to me. It's still cool, like I don't mind it, but it's just still pretty different than some of the art. Dark Influence, again, discard top card player's deck. If it's a mutant, gain 1. I think you're hitting your opponent's discard with this most often, because we have already only gotten, I mean, we got 2 mutants here, and then we've got the Skippy, and you don't really want to discard the Skippy. There's Brass Klein for some creature control for that Logos. There's Genetic Stash, so again, some Amber control for your mutants. Second Brass Klein. Brass Klein? No one knows. And then Research Smoko. So this Logos mutant did make it over into Redemption. Much more fine Redemption house, I would say. Plenty of pips. A little bit of everything here. You've got some Amber control. You've got some creature control. You've got some creature protection. Yeah, totally fine Redemption house. Nothing too crazy, but serviceable for sure. With that Saurian, though, gosh, this is interesting. This is a deck I feel like I'll have to play. Pretty creature heavy, but still has plenty of pips, so you're still going to be pressuring a lot. I think you're going to run into turns where your opponent just has made, 12 Amber and you don't have an answer. But some interesting stuff for sure. I kind of wonder, I would have loved to see one more of these. I think that would have made a pretty big difference here. But I think you can get some combos with, where is that? Genetic Strain as a fate effect, and then where'd that go? The Spendthrift fate effect. If you can chain your fates, which is possible, there are, especially like, what do we have here? You could Stars Aligned into a Look How Far You've Come to just wipe out a bunch of your opponent's Amber, right? So I think there's some interesting combos there. Again, for a Foresight deck, definitely going to be a fun one to try and play. A little bit low on creatures outside of the Logos, which I think I'm actually okay with. Lots of actions and stuff in those 2 houses, and then Logos is kind of your anchor house, if we're going to go back to, or what is it, the main house, if we want to go all the way back to the Bouncing Deathquark days. But yeah, that's Lissier. Sorry to anyone who speaks anything that's even close to French. Lissier, the artist of Austin. All right, there's our Foresight deck. I think we're just gonna do 1 or 2 standard decks now. We're gonna keep going for a little bit because I usually don't like openings too much right at the beginning, but like our store is being really good about buying products, so I just want to make sure I'm buying product from them a lot. So like I got a kind of smaller pledge, but I'll probably open a decent amount of it just so I'm always kind of ready to buy a new sealed one at the store. This one is literally stuck to the packaging. I will save you one, I will save Austin one, and I will save Roy one. I've got it. I've got it ready. And if it's good, you gotta let me borrow it for a Vault Tour. The one I got from you is the best one I got from Monday, I think. That was a pretty cool deck. More Redemption. I literally don't think I have a deck that doesn't have Redemption in it yet. Maybe one. Oh, really? The wrap stuck in the packaging? I do love this new inner packaging is fantastic. It's so much easier to get open. Like, I love that. But yeah, a little bit of glue issues happening. Acidic Harlequin Ingleaf. Harlequins are pretty cool. You know, fake name. Or not fake name, but nickname. All right, fate number 1. We've got trust your feelings. When a card is placed under your... Sorry, prophecy number 1. I've got to get these right. When a card is placed under trust your feelings, name a house. The next time your opponent chooses the named house as their active house, fulfill trust your feelings. So we've got dis in here as well. So there might be some ways to kind of force this. Transitioning into a Balatro stream. Trying to think. I know Balatro to a point, but is that a Harlequin? The Harlequin thing is Balatro. Anyways, this is an interesting one. I think with this, it gets better. But it's probably fine. I mean, you have a 1 in 3 chance of any turn they're going to do it, but especially if you've kind of been watching the game, you probably have a pretty good chance of guessing what house your opponent's going into next. Forge ahead with confidence during your opponent's turn. After your opponent forges a key, fulfill forge ahead with confidence. So Dave knows all about this one. Because it seems like it should be a sure thing. If your opponent has only hasn't forged or has only forged 1 key, this should be a third sure thing, right? You hate me for not knowing Balatro or because of this card? Or both? Both is acceptable. Both. So I was able to Prince Bufo a key to get around this, and that was my second key. So he just had a card stuck under this the rest of the game. It was great. Prince Bufo is an interesting card. I don't think it's good super often, but it's going to be very fun when you do get it. All right, look how far you've come. So like this is, it's just, do they just have like common prophecies? Because I'm fine with seeing this one because it's very good, but I've seen it a lot. And then heads, I win. So there again, same kind of situational thing. 90% of the time you're doing look how far I've come. Don't mind that though, because again, all of them have the same chance. That documented somewhere? Because I feel like I've gotten a heads or tails in almost every one. Also. I don't know Balatro, but I have been thinking about doing Monster Train too, so I need to ask you about that later, Dave. Because that game looks pretty fun. You haven't gotten many heads or tails? Okay. So it's just clumping, which they also tell us doesn't happen. All right, let's see what our first house is in Ascetic Harlequin Ingleaf. Star Alliance. Kashyyyk Fall. First off, if they're trying to mimic Star Wars, that's not how you spell it. But also, you can't mimic Star Wars 1-to-1, so I wonder if that's supposed to be a joke here. Or if that's actually the name of like a real tree somewhere. Anyways, play destroy each creature with a more powerful neighbor. Whoa. That's kind of an interesting one. This is like if someone is playing really hard into infighting, you can just ruin their day. I've got a 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, and a 2, and a 1. It's like, well, everything except the 5 is dead. It's a pretty interesting one. That's fine. It's weird to see that as at rare. Again, I would love to see creature control like this at common or uncommon, but it's fine. Fate effect, destroy each creature with a less powerful neighbor. Okay, so the fate effect destroys the bigger creatures. Play effect destroys the littler creatures. Yeah, either one of those is totally fine. Not necessarily. So this is again where I am being proven wrong that sometimes you would rather have heads or tails because when they do this one, if it's their first creature and this is under there, it's not killing it, right? Whereas if it's their second creature, you can always know they have at least one other creature that could get killed by this. So fine. Heads I win can be good. Spade Teller. I think this is one of the custom arts also. 2 power play after fight after reap. So if Star Alliance goes back to the play after fight after reap, I'm totally fine with that. I think that's so fine, or so good for them to have that. Choose a house. Discard the top card of your deck. If that card belongs to the chosen house, gain 1. Star Alliance, from what I've seen, has tons of looking at the top of your deck kind of stuff, so that should be a pretty easy one to proc most of the time. Like Navigator Ali, totally fine seeing those two together. It's a lot of work for Amber, but it is Amber, you know, and it's milling. Ensign Clark, Fate, destroy a friendly artifact. I don't know that there's a ton of artifact control in this set, but this guy being on a Fate effect can be pretty good. They do get to choose, but that's also bringing in some enhancements, which is fine. We don't get to see too many of those. I don't know if we've seen any like Amber capture enhancements yet in any of our decks. Quintrino Flux, also more good creature control. That's a fine one to come back. Teresa, House Cheating. Again, some of those DT callbacks. They must have found the art for at least a couple of them. Into the Warp. Okay, now we're getting to the region of maybe it's too much creature control and not enough other stuff happening. Not too many pips or anything here. Scout Pete, again, combos very nicely with some of the stuff we're seeing here. Recovery Operation. So this is one of those cards that I just don't know why this doesn't have a pip on it. Because it feels very just sort of like, woohoo, I'm kind of just doing this thing, stacking the top of my deck, or maybe I'm just discarding 3 bad cards from the bottom of my deck. But it's an interesting one, but I think it could have had an Amber pip. Second Ensign Clark. So some more artifact control there and some more enhancements that did not make it into Star Alliance apparently. Digital Signal for each card in your opponent's archives. Archive a card. Discard your opponent's archives. Okay, that's pretty nasty. Yeah, there's a lot of cards that definitely don't want to see this. It is at uncommon, so not quite as good as some of the other ones we've seen. I still haven't seen the Sanctum one that I got to spoil. I haven't seen anyone actually play that yet. But very, very solid card there. Seeing 3 cards and getting to individually decide if you want. Yeah, I think it's fine. I just think it could have had a pip on it, is all I'll say. When you have cards like Lay of the Land, which do have a pip on them, this card just kind of feels like dirtily is the word I would use to steal from Tabletop Royale or something. Like, it just like, if you're playing like 2 or 3 of these, it just feels like you did a whole lot of not much on your turn, especially if the cards you're flipping from the bottom are not cards you want. You're basically just discarding them for them to get shuffled again. I don't know. Reservist Jones, play capture 2 Amber for each of Reservist Jones' non-Star Alliance neighbors. Okay, so decent Amber control there. Again, one of the Mammon DG arts. Would it be stronger than Lay of the Land? You don't get to draw anything from this. So whatever you put on top of your deck is just waiting for your next turn. So you're like hoping you find stuff that matches with the house you're playing next turn. If you find a bunch of Star Alliance stuff and you're not planning to go Star Alliance turn next, you're just discard. Like, it's fine. But Lay of the Land again is putting a card into your hand. Things like Biome Discovery. It just feels like you're not interacting with the board, and I feel like those are the places where pips should be versus something like a board wipe. Maybe shouldn't have a pip, but it's a fine card. I'm sure I will grow to love. Like, I like it a lot. Could be better. You're just gonna contradict me on everything I say, Captain Gale. That Star Alliance was fine. Definitely lots of kind of interesting efficiency stuff. Lots of top of deck control and milling and everything. But again, without much draw, you kind of have to hope you're planning into the right houses. Stand the redemption date. That's fair. It's you and me are gonna probably both lose to your redemption houses in ball tours because of it. Rain is coming down, but it's also getting brighter outside, so you know. See, you got redemption. No, we got our dis. All right, Gift of Amber. Happy to see that. You lost to redemption twice. Carrion Worm. So this is a really interesting one. I just saw this for the first time the other day. After Reap, destroy an enemy creature. Very, very fine. Scrap. Again, scrap, not a fate effect. Put an enemy creature on top of its owner's deck. Definitely like that one. I don't know if there's a way to discard it in Star Alliance. That would be where it's really interesting to be able to do that and then into the Warp It off the top of the deck. But still, cool card. I like that one. Just a fine common. sunny and muggy north of the river. Yeah, we'll be there in 5 or 10 minutes, but we're getting the rain right now, which is fine. Always happy to see rain here. Infernus is back, better than ever. Ooh, True Brew with Gift of Amber, because I just needed a whole key's worth of amber. It's more than that, isn't it? It is at least 7 amber just by playing a Gift of Amber on True Brew. Obviously, you've lost some amber, but that's cool. Eddy of Dis, shuffle a random card from your opponent's hand into their deck or fate. Your opponent shuffles their discard pile into their deck. They draw a card. Again, this fate effect, like, it's going to be really interesting to see if you can time some of these against... Sorry, my camera is still so bad. I need... Worst Eddy ever. Yeah, I need better lighting in here. We'll get there. But, this is one of those cards, again, that you read that fate effect and you're like, oh, this could really ruin some GR decks, but, like, you just have to time it right. But this being uncommon means that might be a lot more possible. Second Eddy, okay. Again, fine to see that. Doing some disruption if you're just playing them, or the fate effects are fine. Strug, play destroyed, your opponent loses 1, or fate effect lose 2. Again, this is doing what this loves to do. There you go. Amber Pipped Infernus, love to see that. Oh, you're right. Never mind. That is not anti-GR. That is... hurts you? I'd have to think about that one. If you can do like a self-purge strategy, it probably does good stuff, which we've got the Infernuses. So maybe I do just purge. Sorry, Dave, but I'm going to purge all the Starlines and then make my opponent keep giving me back my dis. Ooh, Orb of Invidious. I did not know that one. Oh, that's a legacy. That is not normally in here. So we've got a legacy one in here. Orb of Invidious. Again, this one is pretty nice against, honestly, well, Star Alliance probably doesn't love to see that. But we're going to purge them anyway, so it's fine. But again, this is being an artifact, one of those very good ones against the kind of Mars craziness we can see in Amber Skies or in GR. So totally fine seeing that in here. Again, this deck does not look too big on the Reaping except for the Carrion and then Starline stuff. But Starline is doing plenty of play effects too. Chasm Vespid, Skirmish Splash Attack, Fate Archive, each friendly creature not on a flank. That's a pretty big, like, it puts him in the archive, but that can be a huge board clear, like against tokens or whatever. That can do a lot. That's a lot of creatures because it's not on a flank, right? Yeah. Life Ward. Oh, that card being back in this set is just beautiful. Love it. Traumatic Echo. The art on this one makes it look like it's going to do some crazy stuff. Purge a card from your discard pile during your opponent's next turn. They cannot play cards of the purge cards type. So yeah, double Infernus and Traumatic Echo here with some other stuff. I think, like, I would love for self-purge to be a thing again. Like, I would love to do that here. This is a very solid disc, so I'm happy to see this. Yeah, I mean, the True Brew with the Gift of Amber is just silly amounts of amber generation. We've got some disruptions. We've got purging for amber control. We've got the Life Ward for some stuff. Very, very solid. See how far downhill we go with redemption. Should I do my guaranteed anomaly today? I probably should, huh? That's a good way to end the stream. Not too many house pips though since the first deck. House pips have definitely gone downhill, which is why that deck was so surprising to see 6 of them, right? 4 of them in the same house. Pretty awesome. All right, redemption. We've got so we've got the key cheat, the uncommon Omega. Play, destroy each creature. You may forge a key at +6 current cost, reduced by 1 for each mutant creature destroyed this way. Purge, redeem the Crucible. Very interesting card because it can just be used as a board clear. It gets purged either way. Yeah, they got this off on you yesterday. I mean, I think it's honestly probably not too hard to get off if you have things like the Mist or whatever. It's a very strong card. And so that's, again, where it's like, if you find the payoffs, which this is at uncommon, which isn't terrible. If you find the payoffs, there can be some really good stuff with it. But if you don't find the payoffs, redemption feels pretty awful. Charitable Herald. So here's some warding. Play after Reap, ward a creature, or Fate, remove each ward from each friendly creature. Very interesting card there. Very matchup dependent with that fate effect, but the play effect is super fine. Fallen Sovereign, seen plenty of him already, but again, making more things into mutants so that that Redeem the Crucible is going off more easily. Research Smoko. Totally fine seeing that there. More mutants is good for us. And we've got the Vault of Redemption. I take back everything. I take back everything I said about this set, or this house. No, I mean, this is a rare and uncommon combo. So you're probably going to see this more than I will see it, but seeing it together right now is pretty awesome. So you're going to draw a bunch of cards, possibly key cheat, because this is each time a mutant is destroyed. So this also matters if your opponent's creatures are turned into mutants. Yeah, and you know, it's a rare that takes this house from pretty meh to amazing. I'm okay with that. All you have to do is complain, and everything just fixes itself, right? That's how it works. That's how life works, I'm pretty sure. Genetic Strain. Each mutant creature captures 1, totally fine. Even Ivan, totally fine. And come back. Regatha. Capture pip on there, so finally seeing some of those pips. Treachery. Each enemy creature gains after reap, deal 3 damage to each of Regatha's neighbors. I'm very glad someone asked about this in one of the discords because I had been reading it wrong too. So the way this works is your opponent gets it, and now your opponent's creatures that this is referencing are your creatures. So when my even Ivan reaps, Regatha's neighbors are taking 3 damage. It's not when they reap with those neighbor creatures they take 3 damage. It's like I can give that to my opponent and then reap with 3 creatures and blow up half their board. Very, very interesting card. It being 5 power, it having the capture pip on it is interesting too. I wish it worked like Talent Scout, but I mean, the first time I read it, I definitely read it as in their creatures have this reap effect, which is just like, oh, they kind of don't want to reap until they kill it now. And now it's like, oh, this can actually be good. You can kill some witches with that, right? It doesn't have deploy though. So like on the turn you play it, it's probably not doing much. Actually, it's rarely going to be hitting both sides, right? And we've got the Vault's Blessing. Okay. So hear me out. Redemption might be the best house ever printed. No, I mean, this is very solid. Again, if we can find the Mist, this is getting really, really good. You have Regatha as a Dis Maverick in a Redemption deck. Interesting. Or a Vault Blessing as a Maverick. Ooh, Divine Driving Courage. Play, ready, and use a friendly mutant creature, or Fate, exhaust each friendly non-mutant creature. Okay, ready and use is really good, especially with the wards and stuff here. We can do a lot of stuff. I feel like there was another creature we saw in one of the other decks that really wants some ready and use. Oh, 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 okay. Captain Gale, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to turn on you. No, this is what I said at the beginning, is I think this house is going to be hit or miss. And when it hits really hard. This guy is insane to have in here, especially with like board clears in here. They also count as mutants. And this is not giving them destroyed effects. This is just saying when mutants are destroyed. He is not a mutant himself, which is interesting. But dang, this house is doing some stuff. And then we've got Tormented Badge, another rare. So we've got 3 rares in this. Take control of an enemy mutant creature. Okay. Fate, give control of the most powerful friendly creature to your opponent. I guess I have to be able to make something a mutant with this. Which means I have to be using this guy unless they have Redemption. I don't have any of the other cards that turn them into mutants, but I think with Vault's Blessing, I'm kind of okay with that for the most part. Dang, this is, I mean, unless Redemption is really good and people are playing it all the time, then it becomes pretty good. I mean, there's still mutants around, right? Like we have Tokens has mutants in it. We don't see much of Mass Mutation these days, but again, this guy as a Fate effect, like, all I have to do is Fate effect him under Look How Far I've Come, and they have a mutant for me to take. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it'll probably be situational. But it has a Fate effect, so if you don't want to use that situational card, it's still really good. Okay. This deck. So I don't know. Is this deck actually dealing with Amber? We've got a Capture Pip. We've got some Steel. There's some Capture. I guess with all of this, you maybe don't need too much amber control because you have at least a key cheat to end the game out. Got some disruption. We've got just so much disruption and purging. There's some amber control. Yeah, with the Infernuses. We've got the True Brew for some nice. This deck looks like it's doing some stuff. The Star Alliance is fine. It's doing some things. Again, being able to destroy artifacts and stuff could really help some of my game plans. I really wonder now if we still play. Probably we still play the Orb of Invidious or not. An interesting one in there. Yeah, I'm excited about that one. That's gonna be doing some stuff. That's a cool deck. Acidic Harlequin. Yeah, so we've got 3 rares in that redemption. Purifier of Souls, Torment. I love how the blue is just even more impossible to read. Like, it's blurry already, and then the blue is just like, good luck. Good luck reading that through the camera. Purifier, Tormented, Badge, and Vault of Redemption. And then that disc is pretty solid. It's just the Star Alliance. But again, like, that redemption, if alliances are doing stuff in this set, that redemption might be... That's probably still not quite good enough for Alliance, because Alliance is crazy, but I'll try it. Love it. I love that one. All right. That's exciting. I'm going to do one more, and then I'll probably do my Guaranteed Anomaly last. Thank you all for hanging out, though. This is, like I said, today was kind of a crazy day. Lots of heavy real-life stuff, which I don't want to take away from. But kind of life is moving on, so... I'm gonna count really quick. So we've got the 4 we've opened today all have redemption. And then 2 of the 3 I opened on Monday. So I have 1 PV deck so far that does not have redemption. His name Tiamat Dagastress the 16th. All right, we've got Treat Each Action as your last. Again, that's a fine one. Kind of matchup dependent. Not too hard to play around if you want to as your opponent, but it's hard to know when it's worth playing around. Oh, this is the terrible one. At the end of your opponent's turn, if they have exactly 6 amber, fulfill Bad Omen. Yeah, you could have fooled me that that's one of the 2 rarest houses. Did the stats actually show it as that? I thought we were just seeing tons of Sanctum and Redemption. Like, those 2 houses are, like, turned up a notch or something. I don't know. It's been... I saw some people talking about it. This prophecy is bad. Exactly 6 amber is silly. Unless there is some really good scaling amber control that says if they have more than 6. Which I haven't seen much of in this set. Outlook not so good if your opponent chooses an active house that matches no cards in play. So that one's fine, I think, especially if you have good creature control. Then the early bird, if they have more amber than you. Okay, so those 2 are fine. Treat Each Action is kind of conditional. Let's see. More Sanctum and Redemption combined than if they were 1 house. Interesting. Wow. All right. Well, if you want any bad redemption, I'm not going to sell the one good one I've opened. If you want bad redemption, I've got that for you. Wait, is it more? Maybe it's more than that. Is it? I guess I opened that other one yesterday that also had redemption. I've opened too much of it. Maybe I only opened 1 redemption on Monday. But everything I've opened from my pledge so far has had redemption. Somebody tell me they don't have clumping. If they look more like that last one, I'm fine with it. Alright, starting with Untamed, Fog Murmuk. While this is not on a flank, keys cost -1. This is a tricky card. -1 symmetric can be very tough. That can backfire really easily. So your opponent gets the first kind of chance to really use it. Larry, 1 power at the start of your turn, gain 1 amber. There's less amber damage pips in this set, So I think in sealed, this probably has a lot more pressure than it does in Archon. It's very interesting that it can kind of cheat a key, especially with double fog mooks. You can kind of sneak stuff in there by getting that amber at the start of turn. That one having a redemption pip, kind of cool. Okay, Lambent Mycelium. I've heard people talking about this one also. And opposed to Titan Mechanic, it's a lot more difficult to stop the effect if you don't want it. Yeah, if it gets stuck with like a bunch of creatures on both sides, it's just -5. Whereas you can just turn off the Titan. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But again, if you have some of those key cheats, like if you have Prince Bufo, having some of those there with like this, if your opponent just procs this right at the start of their turn and you have Bufo and like 2 of those out and 4 Amber, you're just getting an easy key, right? But what I've heard about this card, so after another creature enters play, put 2+1 power counters on Lambent Mycelium. Fate until the end of the turn, the most powerful enemy creature gains taunt. I've just heard this card just gets ungodly amounts of pips on it, like just so, or not pips, but power counters. Like it just gets so big, and you know there can be some cards that pays off with, but I don't think Waste Knot is in this set, right? As far as I know. Vivid Fairy. All right, so we got some of the house enhancements here. After Reap, gain 1 for each of Vivid Fairy's untamed neighbors. This is a very, very good recruiter. Solid little creature there. Invigorating Shower. All right, so this is one of the ones. This might be the only thing that gives discard pips in the whole set. Namel's Confession. What is Namel's Confession? Did I see that one? It's in Redemption. Does that have to do with power counters? Anyways, Invigorating Shower. Again, if you have, so the other deck I have has 2 Invigorating Showers and a Punctuated Equilibrium. So I think, I haven't gotten to practice it enough yet, but I think there's some really cool stuff you can do with just keeping calling Untamed and keep it showering your Untamed and then punking until you're basically playing all 12 cards of your house every turn. I'll have to see, I'll have to do the math. Probably can't do it exactly like that, but close. Mog, this is the guy I was talking about. Sounds cool. Against some other sets, there's a lot more big creatures, but this set, the amount of 4 power creatures in this set is crazy. So this guy just feels like he should do a lot more than he does. Deal 4 to each creature with power 5 or higher, or Fate, stun each defending creature with power 5 or higher. See it when it invariably shows up in this deck. Sure thing. Warflean, it's fine. That's kind of it's a weird card. It can be really good or really bad. No Amber Pips again so far in this Untamed. Lots of creatures. Mushroom Man, the man himself, with a drop it. That's fine. Big dude there again. Penance of Balance. I have not seen this card. It does have an Amber Pip. Play if there are more enemy creatures than Amber. If there are more enemy creatures than Amber in your opponent's pool, X is equal to the difference. Oh man. Okay, if there are more enemy creatures than Amber in your opponent's pool. So if they have 5 creatures but only 2 Amber, okay, then the difference is X. That's 3. Destroy X enemy creatures or your opponent loses X. Like, there had to be a different way of writing this, right? I also feel like there's not too many decks that are playing just like a ton of creatures. Like Tokens is, but so often I don't think this is doing much, sadly. It's just sad because it kind of looks like a cool card. It's rare. You want rares to be cool. Persistent Hunting, totally fine seeing that. And then Consult the Bones. This is kind of an interesting one, but we have so few pips so far that it's probably not doing a whole lot in this deck. But that is discard the top of each player's deck. For each card discarded this way, resolve its bonus icon as if you had played it. That Untamed is fine. Yeah, so it can buy you a turn. I mean, you can, if they have a bunch of creatures and are reaping with them, like if they just play a bunch that turn and want to reap with them the following turn, like against all those big Logos boards that I want to play in my other house or my other decks, right? If I just want to play like 5 or 6 Logos creatures that are all 2 or 3 power, this can probably wipe them out pretty easily. Like, it's situational. It can probably do stuff in the right situations, but a lot of times you would probably want to do the Amber control anyways. Found Untamed to be the worst house in PV so far. I don't know. I have some not bad or not good ones, but I have some that have been doing some stuff. Like I said, Punctuated being in there makes it really interesting. I think you can find some interesting stuff. But yeah, as a whole, I think the creatures especially have not really wowed me. Prince Bufo, I think, can maybe be really good depending on what prophecies you have. Well, Redemption we saw is maybe the most inconsistent house. Untamed might just be like AoA bad, which is saying something. AoA does have good Untamed, but it is so rare. Two different punk in this set. Oh yeah, you were showing me that other one. I'd have to read it again. It's a little bit different the way it works, right? But it's fairly similar. All right, Redemption House. We've got Citizen Shrix. I love Shrix, so I'm totally fine seeing that coming back. Picaroon. Okay, so some more bigger creatures. That's totally fine. Rack of Redemption. Each turn, after the first mutant creature is destroyed, its owner gains 1. Okay, so this is kind of just like, if my opponent is not playing any mutants, this is pretty good. Just makes it so my creatures all kind of have that destroyed effect. Except it's not a destroyed effect, so even with whatever that guy was, the guy I pulled in the other Redemption House, this will still go off because it's just a persistent effect, not a destroyed effect. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if there's too many ways to kill your own creatures in this. Well, we'll see. Ooh. Okay. Okay. 2 of those is kind of interesting. Soul Snatcher for 1 house. Really bad if your opponent is also playing Redemption. Really good if you have Vault of Redemption. And the second rack. Alright, let's see if we can find some ways to kill these bad boys. Citizen Shrix, alright, so your opponent is pretty incentivized to be killing them. Driving Courage. Ready and use a friendly mutant creature with a discard pip there. Exhaust each friendly non-mutant. So this is, I mean, you just ready your Picaroon and dive it into something. Dave, I'm telling you, the ones that I had opened until this one and the last one didn't look great. Follow the leader. Got the Saurian pip on there, which is actually kind of interesting. That makes it a lot more playable, I think. Brass Klein. So again, that having taunt with some of this stuff on there can be really good. All right. If you get the payoffs, it is a good house. So this still isn't like a crazy amount of amber, right? This is an extra 2 amber when you play this. But that is still very important extra amber. You also get your draws there. This is Omega, and you can only play it once. Like, it does purge itself, but looking pretty good. Knockback. This is to put a creature on top of its owner's deck. And then Salve with the Untamed pip on there. So only 5 mutants, and this deck actually has no way of making other creatures into mutants, which is kind of the opposite of what we've seen from others, where all it does is make other creatures mutants. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think if we had had like 1 mist in here or something, then it would have been pretty solid. But so this is the opposite of those other decks, where like if I could just alliance this with the 3 mist pod that I have, we'd be doing something. That's a cool house though. I'm excited to try that one out. And this one is Saurian. Saurian, yeah. I'm just gonna stop giving opinions. You know what, Zoc? That would be totally fair. I have never said I am the person you should come to for like the most reliable and consistent opinions on like strength or like what is good to play in Keyforge. I have opinions, but I have never made the claim that I am like a competitive, like I'm the person you should go to for competitive wisdom or even like deck assessment wisdom. I'm here for your entertainment. And my own, apparently. Alright, Marcella the Younger. Land Before Time creature here. After Fight After Reap, you may exalt Marcella the Younger. If you do, draw 2 cards. Totally fine, especially on a 4-power body. Yeah, hope we get some cards to move that Exalted Amber. Defense Initiative, good to get some wards again. Again, there's some, I think wards making a comeback could be really big. I think you're going to find some really big wards happening in this set, and some of the more recent sets don't have good answers for lots of warding, so it could be really interesting. Publio's Decree, I've not seen this one. You may exalt up to 3 friendly creatures. For the remainder of the turn, they belong to House Saurian. You have to have 3 friendly ready creatures to do something with this. It is up to, though, so you can do this with just 1. That's very solid. I like that one a lot. Interesting. That's a rare too. Okay, so we need some ways to move Exalted Amber now. Elegian Society. Again, this is a search your discard for 1 card and put it in your hand. Very, very solid. Or the Fate to ward a bunch of your own creatures. Have you played with that one already, Dave? Publio's Decree. Rufus Virgilius. After Reap, a neighboring creature captures 1, ward that creature. So more warding. Nice. And some Amber Control. Another Marcella. Pretty solid if you can keep those alive, which we have a lot of wards, so hopefully we can. Oh, interesting. A Cycle of Rares. That makes sense. We've seen stuff like that before. Cool. I need to go back and see if I got those with some of the other ones. I probably did. Just didn't even know. I kept thinking in my other dino pods that I opened that if they just had an Orator, they would be so good. But I thought he wasn't actually in the set. Namel's Confession. Okay, so that's... I don't think I've opened that one, right? But that's a pretty cool one. But Order. I love Order. Again, one of those cards that also came back in Vaultmaster 25 that is just so good, so fun. But we need some ways to move this captured Amber now. Arcalate Valeria. So this is our Dino Enhanced, and then before fight, exalt an enemy creature for each of our Archlegate. I don't know what I said the first time. Archlegate Valeria's Saurian neighbors. Spendthrift. Move each amber from a creature to the common supply. Okay, so there's a little bit of that, and then exalt the creature, or the fate effect, move each amber from enemy creatures to your opponent's pool. So that with some of this stuff could be huge swings if you can get the right. I mean, really, Outlook not so good is probably your best bet of getting that to go off before they have a chance to answer it, because this is at the end of your opponent's turn, right? And then treat each action. Again, if you're able to get some wards, treat each action can probably do it too, but it's after the second action has been played. So like if they're able to destroy the wards and then the next card is like a board clear, that all board clear happens before your fate effect would go off, sadly. Sedimentary Nap. Again, the shuffle a creature into its owner's deck. Publius Scipio, splash attack 4, fate for the remainder of the turn. After you use a friendly creature, deal 4 to its neighbors. So big body there, lots of creature control. Not per se. Oh, right. They could do it first. Yeah. But they have the opportunity to do the other one first. And then Governor Gridilk. Seen him before. Okay. So, I mean, it's a little bit tricky, but if you can get the Spendthrift off with some of this, it's going to go crazy, especially with those Shrixes. Like if you use Publio's Decree with these Shrixes, they get tons of amber on them, and then if you can do the Spendthrift Fate effect right at the start of their turn, you just dump all that amber into your pool. Could go wild. Let's see, the Follow the Leader with the Saurian Pip. Again, this Untamed is probably the tricky piece here. But again, if they only have like damage-based creature control, this Lambent Mycelium could just sit there and get a bunch of captured amber on it, like over the course of the game. You have your cheaper keys with the 2 Fog Murmooks, so... Oh, the sad thing is, the Fog Murmooks don't work with this because you destroy other creatures first. So you actually don't get to do the cheaper key, sadly. This will be an interesting one. I think, again, that Redemption is looking a little bit spicier. The Saurian has the potential for lots of spice, especially with the Marcellas and stuff. Untamed is a little bit iffy. But you do, I mean, this could be some good amber control. You've got a lot of creatures here, and there's some house cheating and stuff with the creatures, so it's pretty good. Unless you ward them, there's a little bit of ward, but again, you have to kind of be lucky with the fate effects to get more wards. Also, again, you have to look at the prophecies. The Bad Omen, not good. Treat each action is going to be situational. Early Bird isn't too tough, but it's at the end of your opponent's turn, then the Outlook is the one you're usually hoping to get for some of those really big impactful ones. Okay. Cool one. All right. Guaranteed Anomaly. There's no way this also has Redemption, right? It's impossible. I can also maybe, now that I think about it, I might not own an anomaly. Gosh, I almost want to look that up quick. I don't think I own an anomaly. Do I have one in Winds of Exchange? Maybe I have one in Winds of Exchange, like a bad one. Can you search that easily on DOK? This might be my first anomaly, which would be very fun. That's okay. I'll look later. But again, there's none that I can even think of, which that lets you know how few I've gotten. All right. No redemption. Very similar houses to what we just looked at, though. I don't think these are necessarily the houses you want altogether. I think all of them can be good, but you probably want some. I think this is going to be a set where you want Dis, Logos, X. Most of the time, that's what you're going to be wanting. Maybe Star Alliance, Dis, or like between Star Alliance, Logos, and Dis, you probably want 2 of those 3. Original Flavor Redemption, yeah. But Sanctum, I've seen some really cool Sanctum stuff in this set so far, so I'm fine with that. Revered Magmanus Asante. Alright, so we've got Go Forth and Conquer. During your opponent's turn, after an enemy creature is used to fight, fulfill Go Forth and Conquer. And then Look How Far You've Come. Again, find to see Look How Far You Come. Keep seeing it. 0 Chains, also Fate. So you keep talking about that card, and I've only gotten to play it like once. Destroy a creature for each amber, yeah. I think, can you get that in multiples? Stars aligned at the start of your opponent's turn if each player has the same number of creatures. Okay, so again, that's one. Since at the start of your opponent's turn, you can kind of force that one, and then ask again later. Each time your opponent chooses their active house, they must name a house on your identity card, reveal the top card of your deck. The revealed card does not match the named house, fulfill, ask again later. So they're trying to just guess the top of your house, and if they guess wrong, then you fulfill the fate. So sadly, both of those are kind of the start of turn ones on the same card, but should be pretty easy to fulfill one of them most of the time. Let's see. I need to count these. You can't get it in multiples. All right. Yeah, no, it's a very solid card. And again, that very first deck I opened, which I got from Dave, the Sanctum in that deck is crazy. It's got the Benevolent Charity. It's got tons of capture. It does have that one-side board clear. I feel like there's something else in there too. That was just, oh yeah, 2 Bring Lows with Benevolent Charity is just crazy. Maybe not enough creatures for all the capture, but that's also the deck that has the Untamed with the 2 Invigorating Showers and the Punk. So it's like I really want to do the Untamed stuff instead of doing the Sanctum stuff, but I think the Sanctum is the way you actually win with that deck. Or maybe the Sanctum is how you don't lose. Yeah, I'm sure it will be, Dave. All right, starting with our Untamed, we've got Flary. Amber. Oh, Scout is a cool one in this set. For the remainder of the turn, up to 2 friendly creatures gain skirmish. Fight with those creatures one at a time. So this is where, like, this one can get interesting if your opponent's playing this. You have to be careful with some of these, like, ready and fight effects. So things like Ganger Chieftain, Scout, or whatever. Orphaline, again, can be fine. Pretty situational. Ooh, alright. Here's our anomaly. Triok the Wise. After Reap, choose a creature. Until the start of your next turn, that creature gains Invulnerable. That's a pretty crazy effect. 6 power, Dragon Sage. I mean, like, kind of funny just to make Flary invulnerable, but I mean, that card has to have some pretty crazy things it can do. Invulnerable is going to be such an interesting thing to be dealing with in that set. It's pretty cool. I'll take that. Give me like a Punk and some other cool stuff in this Untamed, and we'll be cooking. Chonk Evermore, so you can do some +1 power counters. Fine with that. Lambent Mycelium. Alright, so we're making some really big creatures too. Persistent Hunting. Alright, so we're getting some creature control, some Amber Pips. Consult the Bones, also fine card. Another Warflean. So Warflean is kind of interesting. If you kind of know what's in your discard all has a lot of pips, you can do Warflean into Consult the Bones with like a higher chance of getting some pips. And we got the Prince Bufo. Right? My first game ever with Prophetic Visions. I got the Bufo key. I might never get one again. But I got it. Does Chonk double? Oh, it does double the number of counters. I was thinking it's just put one and then put another one on, but it doubles the amount of counters. That's insane. Dave does remember. All right, so we've got Vivid Fairy also for making those untamed creatures or getting a bunch of reaps. So, I mean, even just Triok with Vivid Fairy, like you just sit those two next to each other, you're getting tons of amber off the reaping and stuff. Pretty solid. Envious Venomite. Skirmish, while your opponent has more amber than you, Envious Venomite gains poison. Okay, that's fine. Means return, each enemy creature gains poison. I mean, it's nothing like super crazy, except Triok looks really awesome, and then Bufo is really fun. Got some pips, got lots of big creatures coming out of this. I think it'd be interesting to see what we can do like cross house with this. We do have Untamed Enhance somewhere, so we'll see what goes on with that. But even if you're just doing a lot of capture, like with Sanctum or whatever, being able to make that creature invulnerable for a turn is not bad. And that card just looks like it goes in Untamed, right? Like a big green dragon. Just kind of pretty cool art-wise for that to be in that house. Would have looked weird in like Sanctum. All right. Sad I should have checked which house had the anomaly, but that would have given it away. So should have done that last, but it's fine. Lightbringer Outpost. All right, so we got some decent capture already and some good flipping stuff to the bottom of the deck. Not a ton of play effects, right? Except for the Warfleans. Yeah. So not. We'll see what creatures we get for that. On the bottom. Teal'nar. Each friendly creature gains after fight heal 3 damage from each of this creature's neighbors. That's a weird card. But it's fine, right? And then Fatefully heal each creature. Your opponent gains 1 for each creature healed this way. So this is like a... What is that? Cleansing Wave on a Fate effect. Pretty good. There could be a second anomaly. So my guaranteed Sky Beast from last thing did have 2 Sky Beasts in it. So we'll see. Divine Seal. Put a creature on the bottom of its owner's deck. And then Fate Purge the bottom card of your opponent's deck. Interesting, but got the pip on there. It's pretty nice. You can link a ward off. Grey Warden. Deploy after fight after reap. Ready a neighboring Sanctum creature. Okay, so not quite a Grey Rider, but a little bit more power there. Albade, more capture going on. Fun to see him come back, especially with cards like Benevolent Charity and stuff to just dump that amber right away. Dame Margaret, deploy taunt. Dame Margaret gets 2 armor for each key your opponent has forged. Okay, that's fine. It's a taunter. Taunt is, I'm always fine seeing taunt. It's a little bit more armor as they've forged more keys. Got another Grey Warden. Burning Light, so doing some stuff against that Redemption house should be useful. Relegated Relics. Is this the same one? No. Shuffle each artifact into its owner's deck. So interesting artifact control there. And then Fate Purge each artifact. So this is what you want to play against those Redemption pods that I've opened. Purging all the artifacts is crazy, and there's no way to protect them from something like this. So that's just a nasty card. It is at rare. I am sorry, JDG, that this card exists. But this card exists now, so good luck with the triple Quixel. Okay, got another Teal'nar. We are going to be doing some fighting, so that could be good. Another Dame Margaret. Okay, so pretty creature-heavy Sanctum here. Whoa, what is going on with this? Garnet Squire. So that's where our damage enhance came from. At the end of your turn, heal 1 damage from Garnet Squire. If you do, gain 1. Huh, interesting. So you just keep putting damage on him, and oh, there should be more damage enhances. Oh, we got one from the Burning Glare. Okay. Sanctum is fine. I think the artifact control is really interesting. Again, still no, what was that card called? The spoiled card that I had. Broken Intent. Still no Broken Intent. I think that was that an uncommon maybe? Who's going to bring PV Sanctum to Alliance? I don't know. I think you're going to see some Sanctum Alliances that just delete your opponent's Amber. Like, Broken Intent is common. You have one with 4? What the heck? I haven't seen any yet. It's the card I spoiled. And it's so good. I guess it's different than Clipped Wings. Clipped Wings is a little bit more real-time disruptive, but Broken Intent is better in terms of the archive hate. So this is going to be our Saurian. So Saurian and Sanctum together can be really good. We did see some decent capturing on the Sanctum side, especially with the artifact, but that artifact might just get destroyed by our fate effects. All right, we've got Rufus Virgilius. A neighboring creature captures 1. Ward that creature after Reap. Again, that's fine. That's a 3 power. Doing some warding is not a problem. Okay, so Governess Sylvina. This is one of the ones where I have like 2 or 3 of these in a deck, and there's like almost no capture in it. But play move each Amber from a friendly creature to the most powerful enemy creature. I don't think we really have too many ways of house cheating this in, so you'd have to kind of get lucky with your Sanctum stuff surviving, but you do have a lot of taunts and everything, so it's going to be really, really good. Scrap effect, again, there's a scrap effect, not a fate effect. Have to remember that. Stun 2 creatures with no Amber on them. Eclectic Ambrosius is a very interesting Saurian one to have back, especially if you can get some of that warding going. This can be really, really big burst. Action, remove 3 knowledge counters from Eclectic Ambrosius. If you do, gain 6 Amber. There's the warding. All right. Saurian is kind of like a time bomb house, I feel like. Publius Scipio, again, just big body, splash attack, doing some damage. Dilophosaurus, love to see him back, especially with the warding there. He's just one of those cards. Love him. Another Scipio, so some big bodies again for some of that captured Amber. Imperial Scutum with the Untamed Pip. That's kind of interesting, right? I'm trying to think. None of these were really capturing on the turn, right? We were just saying that you could kind of give the invulnerable to things that had already captured, but fine seeing that with the Sanctum. Oops. If you win 3 Vault Tours in a row with a deck that does nothing but stop degenerate combos, so people forced to ban degenerate combos. Yeah. I'm excited to see what you bring to the next Vault Tours now that your last one is ascended. Got it too low with a drop hip. Again, very fine seeing that. Especially, we have a decent amount of bigger creatures. Lots of 4 power, right? Our Untamed is a little bit smaller, but we can be giving a lot of the power counters out in Untamed too. Tricerian Legionary, more warding. Love it. Lorica Inventory with the Amber Pip, so doing some Amber control there. And then another Tricerian Legionary. Okay. This is making just such a sticky board. We've got Invulnerable coming out from our dragon. We've got all kinds of healing and wards, or not wards, but haunts and healing coming from from Sanctum, and then we've got wards and stuff coming from the Saurian. I think, let's see, how many pips we got? 10 Amber pips. A little bit slower deck, but if you're building a really big board. Yeah, I think this looks like a fun one. This will be doing some stuff. Again, lots of really big creatures, so you can just 2 low for like a 3 power creature or whatever and nuke a bunch of your opponent's nasty stuff and keep your stuff. Looks like a fun deck. Interesting one to try out. Got the Bufo in there too, so you don't really have to outrace them as much as you might think, especially with, well, let's see. Yeah, stars aligned. You can basically just force a Bufo at 6 Amber, right? If you have the right number of creatures. You're probably going to have more creatures than your opponent a lot with this deck, though. Interesting. Fun stuff. Oh, all right. Think Triok the Wise. That's a pretty crazy card. Okay. I think we're gonna call it there. Still want to open some. Just play blind. I do like doing blind sealed. I'm gonna be buying some from the store too, but we get a lot of games in a night. So some really cool stuff. Excited for my name deck. Looks really fun, but man, that redemption one looks pretty crazy. But I'll probably play all of them. Should be fun. Can't wait for this to be on TCO too. I think they have it on the dev server at this point. But we'll see how soon it's on regular one. But yeah, no, I'm just sad I didn't get to do this sooner, but glad it happened at all. Maybe we'll do another one if I decide how much I'm gonna buy from the store. I just decide to go for it. Maybe need to open some stuff just to get ready for one of the vault tours. Hoping to go to Vegas, but we'll see. Need to have a good Archon deck for that. You'd be up for it? Yeah, watch someone else spend their money. No, we'll see. It's fun to do for sure. But I would love to do like get some people over here and we'll do some open and play, kind of like you all were doing on Judo stream. So maybe next weekend we can see if that'll work out. But we'll see. Thank you all for hanging out though. This has been really fun. Good Thursday afternoon. What, Thursday? Saturday? I don't know what day it is. Yeah. That's fair. Like I said, I kind of keep doing the smaller ones just so I can spend money at the store. But I always want at least one personalized deck, and the personalized play mats are fun. Get some of those old decks, some accolades. So anyways, thank you all for hanging out, and we'll see y'all see when I see you all next. We do got some Kagi games coming. I need to do more of those, which I'll be streaming, and then hopefully we do an IRL stream pretty soon. But have a great rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you next time on Phlox'em All. Take care.